I've started the record.
Cool. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So, this is going to be an informal session, nothing serious. And I just wanted to connect with you guys to understand how is it going, how was the last year in IITK, and just to discuss a couple of things. And thanks everyone for sending the questions and Ringan for collecting them and organizing them. It's like a yeah. So that's it. Anyone else to start? Anything? Any comments? We'll wait for a couple of minutes for that before we start. Cool. Okay, so then let's start. Just give a very brief background on my journey. So I was a Y17 MSc Stats, and afterwards I have been working in a couple of firms. So I started my career with so basically I did an internship with Ford. Now I got a PPO from Ford, but I thought it would be interesting to start a career in a startup. Uh, so that was the start of my career, and it was I started my career in Bangalore. So I think Ringan was telling me he was walking in Bangalore, so great place to be in. And so basically afterwards, I was already interested in finance. So I joined Morgan Stanley, and then recently I've joined back a startup, and currently I'm in Bombay. So yeah, so that's a very brief background, and bit on a personal side. So I come from a very remote part of India, remote part of Bengal, a very clean, clear, full of paddy fields, devoid of technology. So yeah, that kind of a so going to IITK was a dream come true, and I was amazed by all the infrastructures, all the quality of resources, and I think I actually explored more than the classroom, the other things like, let's say, the entrepreneurship cell activities, the different activities that happens in campus. So those are really awesome kind of opportunity that you definitely miss. So I would request you to explore all those things that are happening in campus, except the studies also. So that is one. And the second thing is that try to meet other department people, like students from other courses. Try to learn a little bit, have some understanding of what's going on in the campus, especially the BTech people, especially computer science, BTech computer science. They are exploring a lot of stuff. There is also some of the startups that are being incubated in the campus. Sometimes some alumni who have started $1 million companies, they come visit the campus and interact. So go talk to people, meet make new friends. College life is the best time, and yeah, you guys are lucky to be in IITK, and yeah, it feels a lot of I feel a lot of nostalgia talking to you guys, and thanks for taking time in a Saturday evening for this.
Thank you for taking time, Shorabda. Matlab, you are much more busy than us, I guess now. And one more thing,
No,
Bangalore is
not like
nice,
that.
but
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
Bangalore is
Hmm.
nice, but the traffic is not.
Hmm.
It's not nice at all. And so, so shall we start the questions about questions then? And couple of
Sure, sure.
people,
So I'll just hmm.
somebody probably will join. Some of them are not, still not have joined. I have told them in the group, but
Sure, sure. No, no, no problem. Huh. Huh, huh. No, no. Thanks a lot, and we can share the recordings with them later.
yeah, yeah. Obviously, I'm
With
recording
the
it.
other materials also, please go through them. And so I think the idea of the session would be, if anyone wants to ask something live, please go ahead. We'll prioritize those. And if not, then we can come back to the many questions that we have received. So feel free to add a word, like add a line or two about yourself, your journey, how are you enjoying ITK, and just be frank, like nothing serious. So yeah, yeah. So start, introduce yourself, anything, in any. I know people are shy, so
So,
this is also a lesson. Yeah,
Okay,
please,
if
please.
you would like to like take live question, then I would like to ask right now the most like my something which I would like to ask is I'm right. This is Poulomi, so I am doing MSc from IIT Kanpur, and right now I'm doing internship in Accenture in Bangalore. So right now what I am facing is in an internship, my project team has said come up with some new ideas, new topic. We don't have any project for you right now in top of our head. So I had been searching for this for the last 2 weeks. So how was your internship? Like it was for 2 months. Then how was your journey for the beginning, and a little bit about your project and evaluation part? I would like to know.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Olomi. So just to start that, when you are in a academic setup, you have very clean data sets, clearly defined goals. But once you go to industry, once you work on anything real life project, there'll be always these messy things. You don't know what to do, where to start. So this is a part of life, and that's the beauty of things. It's open ended, so you can actually give yourself a direction. Now, coming to my experience, one thing I realized very pretty early in the career is that industry is a collaborative game. So internship is a great time to also go talk to people, making new friends, understand what people are doing, and then solve problems. So two aspects here. Understand that solving what problem will actually create business impact. Maybe you can create a very sophisticated machine learning, deep learning model, but if it doesn't get used, if it doesn't have any end let's say end user impact, then it doesn't make sense for the business. So understand that key how the business works, how the whole machine works, and where do you fit, where do your team fits. And the other part would be whatever team structure you are in, there will be many issues, many problems they must be facing. You might be able to use your statistical knowledge to improve that. For example, in Ford, my internship was actually in, so let's say a customer wants to buy a car, they have many choices. I made a decision model on deciding how the customer makes some choice versus other. So
Hmm.
one something practical is there, you have learned something theoretical, try to connect them. Don't try to force fit a model into a problem, but rather understand the problem and then try to think how you can help. So to summarize, try to understand the business context and then go from modeling from there and not the other way around. That would be my suggestion. And once again, congratulations. And these are part of life, ki, unstructured and right now I'm working in a startup, so I can totally feel you and I can relate to you. So, but that will actually make you grow. So yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, like I had been going to them with this can be done with a technical part,
Hmm.
like ऐसे हम करके कर
Hmm.
सकते हैं.
Hmm.
So the first thing they
Hmm.
said, listen, कैसे technically होगा, we are not here to listen that.
Yes.
We are sure you will
Yes.
be able to solve that thing. First tell
Yeah.
us what your product will give to the client, और मतलब
Exactly.
बेचने के लिए जो तुम
हाँ.
दिखा सकते हो
हाँ.
प्रोडक्ट, come and show
हाँ.
us that, show the plan chart
हाँ.
first. फिर
हाँ.
वो
हाँ.
क्या करोगे उसके पीछे, वो दैट्स द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग, पर वो कर लोगे तो लाइक इन बिजनेस और
Yeah.
कंपनीज लाइक दिस कंसल्टेंसी सर्विस, लाइक डोंट दे लुक फॉर दिस मॉडल एंड ऑल कि क्या कर रहे हो तुम अंदर. लाइक द मेन मोटिव इज क्या करके दे सकते हो हमें, मतलब एक प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट हम
Yeah.
ढूंढ जब रहे हैं, व्हाट विल बी द
Hmm.
लाइक मेन फोकस वी
Hmm.
विल बी
Hmm.
फोकसिंग ऑन एज अ इंटर्न, कि मतलब टीम के पास कैसा प्रॉब्लम
Hmm.
लेके जाए जो मतलब मे बी इट्स प्रैक्टिकली राइट नाउ नॉट पॉसिबल, पर कुछ वैल्यू ऐड करेगा कंपनी को, ऐसा कुछ दे प्रेफर मोर. और हाँ चलो एक सॉल्व कर दिया कोडिंग लिख के, दिस मॉडल विल डू दिस, व्हाट दे डू एक्चुअली लुक फॉर, लाइक माय
Yeah,
क्वेश्चन.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. That the major focus is the business impact. The major focus are the users. So that has always have to be at the forefront. But now, once you decide that, then the technicalities will follow. But what are you solving? That is the most important thing. It's like, let's say you have a very big problem in your life. Even if you solve it 30-40%, it will be a lot of value add. But if some problem you solve which doesn't impact anyone, even if you solve that very perfectly, it could be theoretical interesting for you, but it may not be interesting for the business.
Hmm.
So I agree. It can be a bit frustrating. कि you have a lot of good ideas in terms of modeling and everything, but people are not paying attention. ये तो होता ही है. But that's part of life. But yeah, and the other part, what I would say is, uh, so let's say your R squared and this kind of analysis is saying that some variables are good. P-value analysis, you're saying some variables are good, some variables have to be rejected. But from a business perspective, some variables could be very important. So you also have to combine business knowledge with your statistical knowledge and understand how the variables will impact. And similar to this, sometimes we have a knack for complexity. Even I used to have this key. Let's build a very complex deep learning model with many multiple layer neural networks and everything, right? But if we don't understand the model, if you can't interpret it, then
Hmm.
if something goes wrong, it can go very. The magnitude of error could be very high.
Hmm.
So the focus has also to be given for simplicity. Do you actually understand the model? Do you understand how the variables impact the final outcome?
Hmm.
And is it feasible? So this kind of practical kind of a constant environment learning has to be there. But yeah, that's part of life, and I think it's good that you're thinking about these aspects.
Hmm.
Cool. Thanks, follow me.
Thanks from my side.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Who's next? And another aspect of industry.
As I,
Sorry, yeah. Please go, Ishika.
no, you continue. I'll
No,
say
you
later.
go. I was just filling up the blank space.
Okay. So I'm Nishika, and I'm
Hmm.
currently doing my internship in Standard Chartered Bangalore.
Hmm.
So yes, as you told us that you have an interest in finance. So I don't think in our curriculum, MSc curriculum, there is no particular inclination towards financial statistics, particularly in IITK. So how did you
Yeah,
develop it, and what courses helped
sure.
you to pursue that?
Yeah. So here, I think related to this will also be some interview suggestion. So first of all, I was always interested in money. ऐसा था कि like बहुत पैसा कमाना है ऐसा this type of. But once you start earning, you understand that there are other better goals to pursue in life, such as learning new things and then trying to help others. Anyways, coming back to the question, uh, so if you have interest in finance, try to understand how the financial system works. What are the different asset classes? How do they come together? How do you give a recommendation to the clients? What do investment banks do? How do they do that? Simple questions like that. Let's say if you are someone investing in a stock, how does long-term investing work? How do you measure the company? What are the financial parameters you look at? You can just start doing simple Google searches and then see some videos. That could be a good place to start. And then you'll at least learn some of the jargons, you'll have some understanding. Now, coming to the technical part, you may not know everything really well, but in the interviews, you can say that clearly. For example, in my Morgan Stanley interview, I clearly told that I have interest, I have some basic knowledge. I don't know in very depth, but I can learn. So that aspect is there. If you don't know something, tell that I don't know. Like don't try to beat around the bush. But at the same time, try to solve the question what the question asking. For example, if someone asks you ki solve this using X algorithm, if you don't know X algorithm, tell them I don't know. But also try to understand the questions and try to solve that using whatever else you already know. So that problem solving mindset has to be there. That is one. Second thing is specifically most of the jobs in campus in finance will be investment banking jobs, like as in quant, risk management, this type of jobs only, model validation, model development, this type of jobs only. And so there the session would be try to understand how risk management works, how model validation, model development work. So again, simple Google searches can fruit results. But most importantly, before going into an interview, try to do some back search about the. For example, if you're applying for a Goldman Sachs, try to actually do some research about how what is the strategy of Goldman Sachs India recently. What are the changes they are bringing? How they are uh, dealing with the recent technological changes. For example, there's a lot of huge changes going on that you guys will be knowing. For example, ChatGPT and this AI trends and everything, right? Sorry, give me a second. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, so try to understand the mega trends that are affecting the industries, and how your role can actually impact that. For example, if some company is starting some project, you can say ki I have these skill sets which can actually contribute to these projects and can drive business impact, can drive efficiency for customers, how you can solve the customers well. Similarly, most of these firms have core values, as in, let's say, put the customer first, do the right thing. These kind of values they have. Try to integrate those parts in your answers. So to summarize, just to do some background research before going to a job, understand how the job works and what are the different pieces, and try to integrate those. And while studying for the interviews, don't just, and even while presenting an answer, don't just say the technical answer, but also say the whole story. For example, they will give you some business problem, how do you solve it? Don't just directly go to the algorithm, understand what is the problem, maybe ask some questions. Then even when you are going to the specific algorithm, you have to also give some importance of the trade-offs. For example, if you are suggesting some complicated algorithm, you can say that this could have been solved by a simple algorithm, but then it would not capture the complexity of xyz. That's why I'm going to a complicated algorithm. Similarly, on the other hand, if you're suggesting a simple algorithm, you can say that we can go to a complicated algorithm, but then you lose interpretability. So these kind of trade-offs you have to always talk about. If you suggest something, what else could have been done? Why didn't you do that? Share that thought process also. So do this in a structured manner. Break down a problem in multiple bits and pieces. And yeah, so this structured thinking is always helpful. So yeah, those would be a couple of suggestions. Yeah, thanks, Ishika.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Uh, Anyone wants to go next? And it's great that you guys are asking questions, because communication is the most important thing. You can know about lots of things, but if you are not able to communicate in a clear, direct manner, then it will be hard to actually convince the interviewers. And these are the platforms which also give you some opportunity for that. For example, you might feel a little bit of nervousness, but through these practices, now it will actually improve. So I'll strongly encourage to speak up. Yeah. Yeah, Rohit has raised hand. Please go ahead, Rohit. Yeah.
Hello,
Uh,
I'm Rohit Datta.
yeah.
I'm doing my MS from IIT Kanpur. So my question is, what are the coding languages should we focus on for the placements? Do you have some suggestions for that?
Sure,
So
sure,
this
sure.
is one of the leading questions for us.
Yes, I know, I know. So basically, most of us will know either R or Python or C, C++, right? And SQL as a scripting database language. Now, my suggestion here would be, don't get confused between many languages. Learn one very carefully. So any questions you have, they will either be theoretical algorithmic questions, or you'll be given a code editor. For example, HackerRank, HackerEarth. तो वहाँ पे ना all most of the popular languages are available. So even if you know Python or JavaScript or Java or C++ or R, that's not an issue. But if you have not started your coding journey yet, then I would suggest Python could be a good place to start, definitely, because it has a lot of scalability and a lot of powerful open source packages available. Particularly for statistics, I prefer R than Python, but for placements, probably even if I prefer R, Python would be the way to go. But let's say you have already learned R very well, then you can also go ahead with R. That is fine. So that's a specific answer. And then coming back to a generic view, coding languages are just a tool. This will keep evolving, it will keep changing. So don't get bogged down too much in the coding language. This is like a generic advice. Again, placement specific, you have to study and you have to do some researches. And यहाँ पे भी ना, don't read too much theoretical books, but rather practice from some. Just search in Google की top Python programming questions, or go to any site like Top Coder or Lead Code or any. Like, you guys already know the names. I know, like, better than me, because my knowledge is outdated probably. But point is that start with any site. And मेरा भी एक issue क्या था, issue I had is I used to collect all these sites names and then this language versus that language, all these researches. This is just wastage of time. Pick anything and then go deeper into that. And it's a good time actually. Now that you are in summer vacation, maybe you are doing some internships, maybe you are doing some projects, maybe you are preparing for the next semester. Whatever you are doing, start to build a habit, a routine. Spend some half an hour, 1 hour per day for placement preparation and this kind of things. If you are doing an internship, I'd strongly encourage to go talk to people, and especially those your manager's manager, and show that you are interested in the work, you want to learn more, you want to join back. So this enthusiasm factor is also factored in while deciding on an offer. Would I enjoy working with this person?
Hmm.
Because as you know, corporate life can be stressful sometimes. So that is a very big factor. Maybe you don't know many things, but at least this person is curious. They want to learn stuff. So that aspect is also there. So this behavioral aspect, this soft skill matters a lot. Yeah, and then speak up. Anywhere you are there, right? Speak
Hmm.
up, share your views, share your opinion. People will appreciate it, and thank people. Go talk to people, and it's a base card actually. I'm a new intern. I'm trying to learn how industry works. This kind of thing. And similarly, people who are doing projects, same suggestion. Maybe if you want to do a PhD later, start reading about some research papers and then start exploring how research works, and connect the dots. For example, don't just so let's say if you want to do some internship with some professor, right? Sometimes we just go through the institutional mechanism, but you can also directly email professors. For example, what I did is I just emailed some ISI and IIM Calcutta professors. There could be other institutes also, and not just stats professor. You can also email other department professors, and then the collaboration happens. So, for example, in my case, I there's a MI unit, machine intelligence unit. So I emailed some of the professors. I have a good stats knowledge. You have a good computer science knowledge. I think we could do a good collaborative project together. So this type of win-win situations is there. Finally, any outreach you do, you reach out to any senior, any professor, any HR. It's always good to
Hmm.
have their perspective in mind. Don't just talk about yourself. You can also talk about them. I liked your recent post. I went through this paper of yours. I really liked the paper. And then if you pay attention towards the other person, that is extremely helpful, because people are just ki maine ye kiya hai, maine wo kiya hai, this and that. That may not be a best way to approach. Yeah, so cool. Thanks, Rohit. Best of luck for coding.
Thank you.
I hated coding, man. For the placements, because I remember there's a lot of mugging up. Uh, so it's not that much time you can think about an algorithm and can create an algorithm. So honestly, I don't think this coding test should be there for us. For a CA student, it may make sense, but
Like
it's
for
a
us, does this kind of coding test happens like for
so for
stats?
yeah, like mostly no, but in some cases, like Goldman Sachs did. Actually, Khushbu, our junior batch student, you might know Khushbu. She got into Goldman Sachs, and their batch, there was a coding test. She told me, and so yeah, like mostly no, but if you apply for these kind of jobs, data scientist, software developer, this kind of, and oh, this is also another point. You may apply to any job. For example, even the consulting jobs you may apply to, but think of some structure, just say either finance or some cluster, and try to build some expertise there. So at least you can have some focus. But don't limit yourself to that. Do apply to other jobs also, because you never know. There's a lot of luck involved. So yeah.
Okay. So there was one question about CV short, मतलब CV जैसे बनाते हैं ना लोग, तो बहुत
Hmm.
टाइम होता है कि CV shortlist नहीं होता है. तो what are the
Hmm.
points we should focus upon in
Yes.
case of
Yes.
CV short
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
CVs?
So actually, I had made a detailed video on this on my YouTube channel, so you can go watch later. But just to summarize some of the key mistakes I have seen, think of it from recruiter's perspective. Every CV looks alike, right?
Hmm.
Every one of us are doing the same project, same everything. Try to think how is yours different from the others. That is one. Second thing is, uh, let's say you have done some project. Most of us, what we do is we just include the project and give some generic details, but go deeper, give some numeric details, link to the GitHub page. If you're linking to the GitHub page, also hyperlink it. Like if someone is reading it in a digital manner, they can click and go to your GitHub or LinkedIn. Have a LinkedIn profile, have a GitHub profile if possible, or any other kind of portfolio. These are some of the tips. And then uh, so your CV is as good as the least positive point. As in, if you have, let's say you have won a quiz competition in your class 10th, don't include those details. Rather, include relevant details, leadership positions, and those kind of things. If you have started some initiative, started an NGO, you have taught some underprivileged kids, and these kind of things, they show a lot of value. That is second. And the third thing I would say is, uh, if you're doing some project, you can take inspiration from open source projects like on available on GitHub or available on Kaggle, this kind of places. But try to make it a bit customized. For example, maybe use the same algorithm, but use a different data set. Tackle a different problem, so that it doesn't seem like it's just another copy of all the existing projects, right? So think of it in a non-generic manner. So many people, I like when I shortlist series, I see some people what they have done is, let's say, digit recognition algorithm. They have used the same algorithm, but they have implemented it in their own vernacular language, whatever is it, Hindi or Marathi or whatever, right? Tamil, Telugu. So that actually creates a interesting conversations also. That is one. And the third thing is, fourth thing is, after the CV shortlisting, uh, uh, when in the interviews you are talking about the projects, don't just talk about it mechanically. Also talk about what challenges did you face, how did you solve that, how did you understood that business understanding is also important and not just the theoretical understanding. How did you find a different key in academia? And I'm actually giving you pointers here. In academia, you always have these clean data sets and those kind of things, but in industry you actually faced a lot of issues, lot of unclean data sets, unorganized, unstructured. So those challenges, and then how did you tackle them, they actually make a good story. And it also shows that you are alert, you are learning. So try to make everything a bit interesting. Yeah, that would be the suggestion. Thanks. Who is next? This is very interesting. I'm already loving it. And thanks again, everyone, for joining, taking time in Saturday evening. I know weekends are Christmas for us. So,
So there was also one problem.
Mhm.
In many cases, despite giving good aptitude test, people are not
Hmm.
getting selected. So how to
Hmm.
tackle that problem?
Yeah, one suggestion here would be there are also some organization politics in terms of the placement office and everything. So you have to live with it. But if you see that some structural issues are happening, you have to speak up. And this is also a general suggestion. If you see something wrong is happening with you, whoever is it, you have to speak up. And if you are not wrong, if you are right, then you have to speak up, and then there would be consequences. But in the long run, I have seen that if you are doing the right thing, you have to defend yourself, you have to take care of yourself, not only yourself but as a community, and it usually works out. But other than that, from the company side, if there is any bias, you can't do anything about it, honestly. You have to just accept it and then go to the next one. Two related question here. Just start thinking about off campus placement also. You can't rely on campus only, right? That is a suggestion. We'll go deeper into that. But another point is, try to think of this as a collaborative manner. So you guys are not your competitors, but you guys are collaborators. So anytime anyone is placed, so even in our batch, we try to do it in a very rigorous manner. Anytime someone is placed, they will try to make sure that everyone else is placed. So this kind of note sharing, idea sharing, that has to be there, because it's like you guys are competing against the other whole world, not within yourself. So have that collaborative attitude. And related to this point also, sometimes we see in campus that people create groups within the same region they're from, or this kind of things, right? I know that it happens, but try to fight that. Talk to other people from other groups. try to do some collaborative stuff, and that would be fun. That would be a good learning experience. That will expand your horizons.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. And again, for the people who have joined recently, Samvit, yeah, please go ahead. And don't have to raise hand. Please go ahead, David. Formalities.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Hello, I'm Sambit.
Hey, Samvit.
So, so wait 1 second.
Hmm.
So, when it comes to placements, aptitude test is an important thing, right? And can you give some tips or any suggestions on how to prepare for the aptitude tests? Any resources that you want to share, and maybe
Yeah.
some websites where we can practice it and see our
Hmm.
performances.
Yeah, honestly I don't remember the exact website name. I think Pariksha and this kind of, you can just Google the names, but generic suggestions would be don't read too much, but practice from website, practice from question papers. So you'll get a flow. That is a suggestion. Second thing is there are usually 4 or 5 types of problems like quant and like, so these clusters are there because time is short. First, do some practice problems from all the clusters. Then you'll understand ki wherever you are lacking, then go deeper there. That is second. And the third thing is uh, coding could be important, but then there are non-coding profiles also. So play to your strength. If you have not done coding at all, if you know that coding is not your strength, then maybe start preparing for any particular profile you want to go towards. So just think of your complementary skill set. How do they come together? And finally, also, what is your own aptitude? Like, for example, if your communication skills are better, if you think that you can break a problem in a structured manner and then solve them, then consulting and this kind of profiles may be relevant for you. If you're very much interested in finance, if money intrigues you, if you're always learning about investing, credit cards, and all these things, finance may be interesting to you. Similarly, there will be so let's say if date, let's say your core expertise is statistics. Now, statistician profiles are getting rarer and rarer these days. Mostly data analysts, data scientists, these kind of profiles are there. Even data engineering profiles are there. Let's say if you like the data cleaning part of the project, right? And again, coming to a very practical session here, anything you're learning, try to pick some practical data sets, play around with it by yourself. I know that in while doing projects, sometimes we just try to do it collaborative manner, but until you actually start with the data yourself, you make your hands dirty, you won't actually learn. So that is the most important thing to do projects and all. And again, coming back to Sambit's question for aptitude, I would suggest that genetically learn everything, but regularly devote some time, have a structured process in mind, and also start learning about machine learning, data science, and the code concepts. So some suggested courses were Coursera machine learning that many of you might already know. Then, but many good courses are available nowadays, so not an issue. Similarly, ISLR, Introduction to Statistical Learning with R, is an excellent book, and the PDF is also available for free. The authors have open sourced it. Then there's another great book, Python Machine Learning by Sebastian Rashka. So these two are my favorite books actually. But that doesn't matter too much. Talk to people. Think of how do you solve a problem. Think of the interrelationships between the algorithms. How do you break down a problem? What algorithms will solve? What are the trade-offs? If you didn't use A versus B, how the thing go well or wrong? This kind of, yeah, these are some of the generic suggestions. Yeah, but yeah, again, coming back to your specific question, I don't remember the site name exactly, but a simple Google search will do. But keep practicing. That's a suggestion. Thanks Abhi.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you also told about,
Mhm.
I mean, focusing on some clusters while preparing for the aptitude test. I did not get that one.
Sure. So let's say quant is a type of question, machine learning is a type of question, coding questions is a type of question. So there are these areas, right? Now, let's say you can play to your strength. You already know these 2, 3, 4 things. So first, actually brush them up. But then, if if something is your area of weakness, then you have to decide would you want to go for these profiles or not. So maybe if you think that coding is not your forte, don't go for the coding profiles. Maybe So that kind of prioritization have to be done because time is short. But after you have decided, if you think that you need to pick up coding, be consistent in the practice, and don't just keep reading but practice. Take case papers, discuss with students, think, recall. So yeah, that is the idea, key different concept clusters and then going deeper into them. Yeah, hope this answered your question, Sandeep.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, sure, yeah, thanks. Who's next?
Hello, Saurabh. I am Devargo.
Hey
Uh,
there.
yeah, so actually, I want to pursue PhD after the MSc, but I
Hmm?
have some confusion that whether I can do some job and then I go to PhD or not. I am a little bit confused about it.
Sure,
So, if,
sure. Yeah. So that's a very good question, Virgo. Coming to a couple of nuances here, and before going to that, if the meeting ends after 40 minutes, uh, I don't think Google Meet has this limits, but if it does, we can join back in the same link. Anyway, coming back to your answering question. So, if you are very sure that you want to go to academia, then PhD is necessary. PhD postdocs are necessary. If you're very sure that I want to stay in academia, maybe go ahead. But let's say maybe you are not sure about the topic, which topic you should do PhD on, or maybe you are not too sure you should do job or PhD. In those cases, job is a reversible decision. After doing 1 year job, you can move to a different firm. You can apply for PhD, go for PhD. PhD is a irreversible decision. Like let's say 3 year into the PhD, if you think that you are not liking it, you'd be in a troubled situation. So although for academia, PhD is absolutely necessary, but you have to be very careful. If you're not sure, if you are applied, if you're not got a whatever you are expecting as an offer, then don't go. That would be my suggestion. But then some more nuances are there here. So first of all, where are you going for PhD? That matters a lot. For example, in US universities, they often after 2 3 years they will give you an option to leave with an MS degree. That could be useful. That is one nuance. Second is India versus US. So what I've seen is that, and I'm being very politically incorrect here, in India, sometimes the professors mistreat PhD students, and it happens very often, unfortunately. But in US, they treat you, US or any other European universities. Again, this is not generically true. There are many professors in India who are awesome, and vice versa. Outside maybe log milenge aapko. But in general, I've seen that people treat you as a collaborator outside of India. But in India, it's more of like you're just a student in the lab, and then you're supposed to follow on the instructions and everything. So be very sure uh, with whom you'll be working. And sometimes, although there are institutional mechanisms for changing guides, practically they are not feasible because of the organizational politics. And I think a portion of that you might already be seeing if you pay attention even in the institutes, right? So in PhD would be sort of a irreversible decision. You have to stick towards the same thing. So if you enjoy that topic, it's great, right? You can go very deep into that, which industry doesn't give you the bandwidth for to go very deep into one topic. So it would be great if you want to stay in academia, if you want to actually dig deeper into some topic. But if you're not sure, if you are confused, then it's always advised to go in industry. And yeah, there is option for doing a couple of years of job and then going PhD. I've seen many people do that. So yeah, recently only there's a IIT Bombay junior Nitra. Some of you might be knowing her. So she was doing job and she's going for a PhD now. Similarly, I had a batchmate Prosenjit Dubey. He was also he did that ASI course IIT Bombay. Mein. He also went for a PhD. But like point is that after a couple of years, these things doesn't matter कि एक साल बाद में गए या पहले गए, so it doesn't matter. But PhD is a irreversible decision to a large extent. So be very careful. Yeah, that be my suggestion. But end of the day, anything you do, you think about it, you take a decision. It may still happen that you don't like that life after some time. Then you anyway have to go back. So sunk cost fallacy नहीं होना चाहिए कि चलो एक साल बर्बाद कर दिया तो और वापस नहीं आना है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. You can't know everything in advance. And a quick anecdote here. So when I joined IITK, I thought that I'll go for this ISS exam, Indian Statistical Service. I was like solely designed for ISS. Then because what happened is our parents, they will encourage you कि चलो government service, safety and all these things, right? फिर आफ्टर ज्वाइनिंग आई अंडरस्टूड दैट नहीं नहीं इंडस्ट्री में बहुत कुछ हो रहा है, चलो एक्सप्लोर करते हैं, मे बी PhD और इंडस्ट्री, देन ऐसा हो गया. फिर आफ्टर इंटर्नशिप आई गॉट कि नहीं नहीं इंडस्ट्री सही है फॉर मी. Then after a couple of months, after getting motivated by all these entrepreneurship stories, Silicon Valley and all these things, फिर कि नहीं स्टार्टअप में ही जाना है. तो ऐसा चलते रहता है, मतलब थिंग्स कीप चेंजिंग, चेंज इज द ओनली कांस्टेंट, अनित्य. तो impermanence is the game. So yeah, so what I'm saying is any decision you take would be you won't have all the data points, right? You have to make some assumptions, guesses, inferences. Try to collect as much information as possible, but still the decisions can go wrong. But then life is much bigger than that. Even if you lose a couple of months, a year, in the long run you won't even remember this, although in the short run it might feel very irritating. Similarly for marks also, try to focus on learning, practical learning, and not just the marks. But let's say if you are actually in a danger of failing a course, then you have to focus on studies also. So there's always a trade-off कि वो जो था ना गौतम बुद्धा का कि majjim, the middle path, like don't go to the extremes. It's always have to good to have a balanced view of things. Yeah, so that would be my suggestion to you. Yeah, thanks and best of luck.
Thank you.
Sure. No, it's good that see, if you have a very particular topic in mind and you have found a good professor, it makes sense to go for a PhD, and you can actually go very deep into the topic. And if you want to a couple of all other things, let's say if you want to go for industry only, PhD experience is not counted as industry experiences, so keep that in mind. But if you want to go for research job, for example, let's say Google Brain, Microsoft Research, वहाँ पे तो PhD is very helpful. Again, it's like a trade-off, nuances there. Yeah.
Now I was talking to somebody in our office. So there are actually, he said me there are only jobs. There are some jobs where only PhD profile open for
Yes.
PhDs only.
Yes.
So
Yes. Biostat, some biostat jobs, and yes, that's true. Absolutely true. So, but I would say that percentage is like 5% or 10% of the whole job universe. So both of the aspect is true. Ki if you go in the depth, it makes sense. But point is that don't like if you don't like a topic, then spending 5, 7, 10 years doesn't make sense, right? Because PhD sometimes is not sufficient. After that, you have to do postdoc 1 or 2. So if you love that particular topic or professor, it absolutely makes sense to go to a PhD. But if you are not sure, if you don't know, then you have to be very careful, because it is in many cases it's a irreversible decision, and I have seen people go into depression, and that is probably because we don't have a proper structured incentive system in academia in India, and sometimes professors don't think students as collaborators, which is sad, but that's the reality, and you have to accept reality. Yeah, but again, like both, like even in industry you will see many toxic workplaces, toxic cultures. So everything is everywhere, like the spectrum is there everywhere, but at least you have the option to change. Yeah, cool. Thanks Devago and Ringan. Anyone else want to introduce themselves? Go ahead. Any stories about IITK journey? Please go ahead. Cool. I'll maybe share a couple of other things. Have a positive attitude. Sometimes there will be many resource constraints. Maybe you are not from a financially well-to-do family. Maybe you don't have that much command over something. Maybe in your college, some things are not taught properly. But nowadays we have a lot of resources, information available, and you guys are lucky to be part of IITK, because our alumni base is very strong. The institute infrastructure is super awesome. Try to use those infrastructures. Try to use the time productively, and also have some fun, meet new people, go do something, enjoy those all the fests that keep happening. So it's a special time of your life. It's an exciting time. Something or else is going on every day. So enjoy the life, and also a couple of other things like log kya kahenge. Maybe some things seems prestigious. Your parents wants you to do something, but you have to prioritize yourself, because otherwise long term may it won't make sense. So actually go understand yourself, think about these things very carefully, and don't try to please others. Then वो एक there was a वाणी by Sri Ramakrishna, लज्जा घृणा भय तीन सत्य नय, कि shame, hatred and fear. Shame, hatred and fear, these three will actually hold you back. So express your opinions freely. If you think that something wrong is happening, speak about it. And follow your instincts. Don't just go by your brain. Follow your heart, follow your gut, follow your instincts. They are sometimes more accurate than the brain. Have some cross functional learning. If you're working in some role, try to understand how the whole system works, how different pieces come together. And so have the curiosity alive. That is that. Nowadays, with the connectedness of the world, even a little bit of understanding how the different pieces move together can take you far ahead in the competition. And again, competition is not the should not be the focus. Try to think of life in a collaborative manner. Comrades, other people are friends in the same journey, and don't try to be too much competitive. That is not helpful. And what I have seen is, if you help others freely, if you actually add value to other people's life, it will actually come back meaningful again and again. So while initiating a conversation with a stranger, if you're asking someone for help, try to also add some value in their lives. Go like their posts, comment in their posts. Maybe just if their content or if their advices have helped you, just say a thanks. So this kind of small gestures also do a lot of encouragement and helps in a long run. And then set processes, not goals. So there's a lot of things going on. A lot of prioritization has to happen. Try to live a balanced life. Try to explore things. And three key resources are time, money, and energy. Now you have time to explore things. You may not have access to too much money. You have energy. You have youth on your side. So money will come. Other fame, success will come. But this is a prime time, 20s. Explore. Use the time to explore different things and take more risks, because once you start family, once people are dependent on you, you'll have less ability to take risks. So this is a time to take risks. It's a time to experiment. So yeah, again, I'll stop, and then please go ahead if anyone has any questions.
So I have a question.
Hi, my name is
Okay.
Kathy. Hi.
Let's Kathy
Kathy.
ask me question. I'll ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kathy. Yeah,
So
hi.
hi.
Uh,
So as you were talking about the projects, like
hmm,
obviously projects do matter that we mention in the resume. So
yeah.
as many people I've asked, like they name some topics like regression or time series. Just
Hmm,
like these should be the topics that should be included in the projects that you
hmm,
mention in resume.
yeah.
So if you can answer some.
So yes, couple of things. So yes, that is true. But then what happens usually is that everyone writes a similar type of projects because everyone is doing the same codes, same structure. So if you write something unique, that will be very helpful. For example, if you go pick some public data set on Aadhaar, or let's say some interesting thing, let's say on demonetization, on anything, and if you do a data analysis on that. So there are two aspects here. One is the tools, which is regression, time series. These are just tools. But what exactly you are doing in the project, that is much more important. The problem you are solving. Again, this comes back to the earlier question. So what I'm trying to say is, if you can do some unique project, and you don't have to do with a professor, you can do on your own. You can host on GitHub and you can just write. So if you can do something unique, then that's always a value add. but that's actually, wow, this is awesome, I've never thought of that, right? So that adds a value in your resume. But other than that, generically, yeah, regression, time series, multivariate analysis, these are definitely helpful. If you are doing some machine learning projects or deep learning projects, feel free to add that. So but here another point I will say is that, let's say you have mentioned some basic projects, but you have understood them really well, you are able to present that really well. That's better than writing random buzzwords, deep learning and all these things, but when you're asked a question about them, you don't know how they work. So keep that in mind, ki every line in your resume should be defensible. Anything you write has to be backed by proper in-depth understanding, step-by-step thinking. Why did you do this versus that? These kind of things. So although it's better to have some buzzwords in your resume, but you have to be defensible also. So it's like a trade-off, and uniqueness always works. For example, I'll give a specific example. Every one of you are doing the same courses. If you include courses, they'll be same for everyone. If you include courses, try to summarize just some top courses. But it's better to include some more projects, magnifying the projects, these kind of things. So and remove the weak points from your resume. For example, very some random things that you have done that is not impactful, don't remove them, because what happens is that someone looks at the resume for a couple of seconds, 10-15 seconds. If they just see those parts which is like very generic, very obvious, then they might just go to the next resume. तो think of it that कि weakest, जैसे chain का होता है ना कि weakest links, chain is as strong as the weakest link. Similarly, resume also. Write something impactful, and also think of not only the academic achievements but also the value adds to other people's. I'll give another example. So some of you might know that I used to run a group of IIT mathematical statistics preparation. So this is not a career move. It was like a hobby. Right now, it's not that active because I have also moved away from stats. Anyway, but what happened is whenever this came up in the interviews, I have created a site to help students freely on IT jam preparation or learning statistics. So they actually, this leads to a very interesting discussion. So if you have done something interesting in earlier days in college, let's say you have worked with an NGO or something interesting, try to include those in the conversation. That is one. Second thing is, think of the stories. Yeah, try to have some stories prepared. For example, what challenges did you face in your life, in your projects, in your internship, in your IITK journey? How did you solve them? How did you learn? What did you learn from them? So these kind of things are always there. Even when you are doing an intro, try to stay your own personality. Try to express that. Don't just give informations. कि XYZ college से आया फिर इतना CPI हुआ. So that human element has to be there. End of the day, most of the interviewers, they are also very busy. They are going on a very busy schedule. So they also want to have a good conversation. They want to know the empathic side of you, the human side of you. So that aspect has to be there. And everyone appreciates honesty. But you also, for example, if you don't know something, tell that straightforward in a straightforward manner. But don't stop there. Try to understand what the question is and try to solve that using whatever you know. Yeah, so those would be some suggestions. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Like also like
Sure.
I wanted to ask, like I don't have any mentionable PORs like to mention in resume. So do those matters?
So
Like
no,
position of
not at all.
responsibility.
I got it. Not at all. Even I didn't have any PORs. See, everything matters to some extent for some positions, but you have to play to your strengths, right? Let's say you don't have some section in your resume, so then focus on other sections and don't make resume too long. One page is sufficient. Don't go 2 page, 3 page resumes. One page is sufficient. Summarize all the information. POR is not at all necessary. It adds value for some cases, like let's say a consulting or this type of interviews. It does add value, but it's not absolutely necessary. But if let's say you're going to a consulting interview, you don't have a POR, then you can highlight key you have taken responsibilities in the different roles in your life. Even if you are not part of an official designation, you have actually collaborated with others on some projects. So try to highlight those things to make up for that. So that be my suggestion. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Kati.
So
And
adding to that, I want to
yeah,
ask. So there was a
sure.
question: is how to speak about when the interviewer asks what are our weaknesses, what are our weaknesses.
Sure. Yeah. So don't be bullshitting here. Ki don't say ki I am too hardworking, or let's say I'm too honest. Okay. So we will do that. Don't bullshit. Talk about a actual weakness, but also show what steps you have taken to address that. And I'll actually give some specific answers here. For example, I have some digital addiction, key addiction to technology, and all. So I talk about that very freely. Key I do have some digital addiction, but what steps I have taken is I have, let's say, I've turned WhatsApp notifications off. I have, this could be one solution, and like XYZ, right? Key I have taken these steps, or let's say when I'm in office, I don't check my phone. So this kind of things. This is my actual weakness, but I have taken steps to address that. One caveat here is if you have a weakness which will be very crucial in the job, for example, if you are going a consulting interview, if you have
Hmm.
a weakness is communication, then that would be a red flag. So you have to be a bit diplomatic here. So don't be bullshitting, give honest answers, but you have to also keep in mind that should not be a core. So let's say if I am going to be a social media manager, if I have digital addiction, then there might be a problem. Without posting, I'll just consume the post. So point is that only people are intelligent, so give honest answers, but also have to be a little bit thoughtful about it, and don't just stop there. Say what steps you have taken to address the limitations. Every one of us has limitations, so there's no shame in that. Yeah, but these are very like, I don't like these questions. But do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you? Anyway,
So what will be your tips for the HR interviews? So
HR interviews are very important. So what they're trying to judge is are you able to collaborate, right? Are you able to express yourself in a clean, clear manner? Are you honest? Whatever you are saying, is that consistent, right? So my tips would be honest, straightforward, be collaborative, uh, talk about the people aspects. For example, let's say if and always try to understand whom you are speaking to. If you are speaking to a non-technical person, if you go into technical jargons, they'll just get bored, right? You have to tell the story to them. If you're talking to a highly technical person, if you don't give technical answers, then that's also bad. So you have to tweak your answer to your audience. That's always a good suggestion. So maybe if you don't know about the interviewer, it's always might be a good idea to understand, go through the LinkedIn if you is possible, or even in the interviews also you can ask should I give the answer in a technical manner or should I talk about. So if you are not sure, you can always ask. And another final suggestion would be, uh, while communicating anything, be calm, be confident, be polite. Don't get stressed. Even if you are getting stressed, you can say I'm getting stressed, and like just smile na, then it will they'll be ha theek hai, theek hai. But don't just be very कि नहीं हाँ, मतलब don't get very serious, be calm, confident. So yeah, that would be a solution. Good questions, by the way. Thanks. Who is next? And good that a lot of you are speaking up. I love it.
So I have some questions like
Yeah.
if somebody wants to get into jobs related to finance sector, so what are the areas should be focused on from now, or how should we prepare for that? So can
Sure.
you some light into that?
Yeah. So first of all, learn how finance works. What are the different financial systems? What are the different asset classes? How do investment management work? How do investment banking work? How do trading work? How do long-term investing work? How the different profiles come together? Have a basic overall idea. Then, even then, there'll be some only particular profiles which will be open for you guys, which will be mainly risk management, some software profiles, data science profiles, risk analysis type of profiles, let's say model validation, risk analysis, credit risk analysis, this kind of profiles. So there'll be these specific pockets of profiles. Learn about those things, and then before going into an interview, understand what that particular institution does, what has been the recent strategies, what are the trends in finance. For example, the AI trends, the digitization trends, things are going into cloud computing. People are moving into algo trading, algorithm based solutions. So this kind of things are there. So try to understand the mega trends in industry, and then also the regulatory changes. For example, recently after COVID, there are a lot of regulatory changes. Recently, if you follow the news, SEBI has been very active in India to protect the end consumers. A lot of good regulations. So you have to communicate that you are interested, and you actually want to build a career in finance. So it's not just it is, and be frank. Let's say if they ask you, are you coming for the money? And say, yeah, money is good, but I am also coming for this XYZ reasons. Don't say, no, money doesn't matter to me. And so always be frank, straightforward, but also be a little bit, have some broad based answer. Don't get bogged down to some particular thing. Then finally, whatever you are learning in terms of statistics, machine learning is a highly suggested to learn, honestly, because in industry, a lot of use cases are there. Deep learning may not be essential, but at least basic machine learning algorithms like different class. So let's say classification, regression, broad umbrella, coming supervised learning, and then unsupervised learning is there. Then reinforcement learning is there. Some broad understanding of how all the pieces come together could be very helpful. Yeah, so these are suggestions, and then finally, uh, whatever you know, how do they actually connect to the real world problems? That's the most important part. Don't just go into the algorithm. Say this is the problem, this is how I can solve it, these are the ways I can solve it, what are the nuances, and then go into the algorithms. And even when you are in the algorithms, do some trade-offs. If you didn't use this versus that, what would have been better or worse? Those kind of ideas. Yeah, so there's some suggestions. Yeah, and then sorry, one other thing. There's sites like Investopedia, which are very interesting. You can go through some articles from there. Yeah, and don't be too
Thank you.
technical. Sure, yeah. If someone asks you about something, try to explain that in a very simple manner. Don't try to be as simple as possible, but rigorous. You have to be accurate as well as. And another point is that sometimes people ask very fundamental questions. What are these? How does this axiom works? So let's say Kolmogorov's axiom of probability and those kind of things, which are very basic things. As a statistician, you're supposed to know these things. How does regression model? What are the assumptions behind regression models? So things like, let's say, homoscedasticity, multi-quantity, those issues, and then let's say residual collinearity, non-interdependence. So those kind of aspects are there. So study about them, and if something goes wrong, how do you? So let's say if there are outliers, if there are influential points, how do you deal with them? So these, how can things go wrong? And so there's a quote by George Box, right? Ki all models are wrong, but some are useful. So that aspect has to be there. I know ki model is not perfectly applicable in a practical scenario, but I understand what are the limitations of the model. So I would be in a good position to tweak the model to the real scenario. Yeah. Cool.
I want to ask something. कि
Yeah, please.
adding to that कि आपने जो बताया था कि you have gone far from statistics right now and
Yes.
you are working on something else. So what are the things? मतलब कैसा models use हो रहा है अभी industry में?
Yes. So honestly, thing is that I have a bit of curious mind, so I keep exploring other things. Now, coming to the models, there will be a lot of new age, cutting edge models. Let's say nowadays, as you might know, for example, ChatGPT has come up, right?
Yeah.
So don't just use ChatGPT. Understand how a LLM works. What is a large language model? What is the math behind it? And if you can use that in interviews, nothing like it. That is one. Second is, even though there will be very advanced models, still the basic models like regression, basic model like this basic time series models, basic multivariate models, they will always be used because of the interpretability issue. Ki AI system, so let's say ChatGPT, it has billions of parameters. No one is actually monitoring those parameters. It's automated based on data. So if some bias is in the data, it will actually be there in the recommendations also. So that's where the simple models interpretability comes into play. So the regression will always be there. A simple time series model will always be there. So start with the basics, learn the building blocks. Similarly, on the this side, a decision tree based modeling structure will always be relevant. Clustering, principal component analysis will always be relevant. So start with the building blocks basics, learn the jargons, learn the high level stuff, but not at the expense of the simple stuff. So in industry, I have seen there's a lot of focus on interpretability, on understanding the models. For example, in my first job, I was working in healthcare. We were doing oncology analytics. So let's say you are giving some recommendation to a cancer patient. If you don't understand how your model works, there's a lot of risk, right? You have to really understand how each and every variable comes into play. Automated black box model is not, it would be very risky. So it may be useful for a, let's say, a scan recognition, those kind of things. But for a predictive model, for a recommender model, you have to be very careful while using a model because of the precise reason that all models are wrong. So you have to understand how the model will, and it will go wrong because in reality, normal distribution is, bell curve is not there in reality. Normal distribution is not there in reality. No perfect model is you'll find in reality. Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Couple of other generic suggestion. Focus on your health, physical health, mental health, spiritual health. Have a calm mind. Think of these things you need a sound body, mind to actually fight, right? Because there's a lot of, it's like a war going on. And again, campus life will start. So many things parallelly going on. So it's very exciting. Have some courage, focus on your communication, expand your personality and toolkits. Think of the character also. As I was saying earlier, you guys are working, studying in a nationally reputed institute, IIT Kanpur. You'll figure it out. You'll start earning, and even if people who don't get a good job or position immediately, I have seen no one to stay idle for a long time. You'll get anything, something good eventually. So this thing will be figured out. But try to also think of how your work would impact your friends, your family, your surroundings, and the society in general. So yeah, probably a bit early to start thinking about these things, but have those things at the back of your mind. That would be helpful in making the decisions. Build a routine, have a structured life, understand how the game works. For example, if someone is saying something, they may not be saying many other things. Uh, so try to go deeper. What are the incentive structures? So I remember earlier Polomi and some other people were asking, if you, let's say you are thinking, I have actually thought of some really good models or some structure, but they may not value that much because their incentive is the business impact. Their OKR, their objective is a business impact. You have to understand how the game actually works. Then it would be a bit easier to play, and there will be politics everywhere because where there is people there will be politics. So you have to understand, learn how to collaborate with others. So let's say if someone is disturbing you, you might find some toxic boss or let's say a PhD guide, how to deal with that, how to deal with it yourself, and then externally as well as internally. So those type of things. Then negotiation is a very important skill. Although in campus you won't probably be able to negotiate a salary, but if you're going for an off-campus job, resilience is very important. You have to keep applying again and again and again. focus on the let's say LinkedIn or GitHub, these kind of profiles, understand how the game of off-campus job search works, and then keep applying. So yeah, so like these are some of the things I wanted to discuss, and then again I'll stop and please ask more questions.
I have a question
Yeah, please.
like during interviews, like we have to present all our projects. So how to do that efficiently at that in that small period of time?
Sure. So what usually happens is they might give you a chance. He choose a project and then go ahead with it. So prepare one or two very carefully. You know everything about that. You know how that can go wrong, went out. Some prepare some stories around that. What are your contribution? What are the challenges you faced? How did you solve that? Why did you choose this and not that? And you can always say you started with A, model A, because of XYZ. Then we saw that it didn't work. Then we moved to model B, but then we saw that business impact is also important. So we tweaked model B according to business impact, and then these were the final thing. So this kind of storylines have ready. This is one possibility. Other possibility could be they might start with some project. Now, let's say sometimes the discussion might go towards some direction which you are not very comfortable with. Then through your answer, you have to again push back the conversation towards the algorithms, towards the area you are more comfortable with. So this is also a very subtle art, so which is probably hard to explain in a call. But the idea is that in your answers, try to highlight more towards. So let's say you are giving an intro. वहाँ पे let's say you had done an internship, you had seen something very interesting. Let's say you worked on something, some cutting edge technology or some very impactful project that might drive a big impact. So if you push those keywords in your intro itself, then the interviewer might pick up those cues and ask questions on that. So this is also a very subtle skill to implant the keywords, inception जैसा. Uh, so yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
So don't we have to explain all the projects that we have mentioned in our resume?
Usually not. Usually there is not enough time for that. And again, quality more than quantity. You don't have to explain everything, but whatever you explain, you have to be very solid on that. You have to be very clear on that. And it's interview is like a sampling, right? They will ask you some sample questions, and you might be lucky that you already know the answer or thought about that, but there may be some new questions. Then if something unexpected is asked, you don't know the answer of, you have not even thought of that, then if you're thinking, try to also share your thought process. Don't just stay silently for a long time, right? Try to share your thought process. Ki, this is how I'm thinking. So that is always helpful. Communicate more. So yeah, but usually you don't have to explain all the projects. That's usually not the case. But again, they might ask. They don't have anything better to ask. They will just coming to one. Sorry, does that answer your question, Kadi?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure, yeah, thanks. Another thing is, some of you had shared your resumes. I have responded to some of the mails. I will respond to the other emails. If you want me to review your resume, just drop me a mail. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And good work. I think the initial versions were really great. Probably I made a much more noob resume when I was at your time point. So it's good that people are, yeah. So couple of other things maybe, but feel free to ask questions, or I'll share some other things maybe.
Like the basic structure for this placement recruitment process will be the same as the one we have done in internship, like aptitude
Yes,
coding.
yes, yes.
uh, the structure would be same, but while we are sitting for the placement, they know that we have done a 2 years of masters right now, koi internship karke aa raha hai, some of them has done project. So what are those experience point which we should mention, like specifically, but like while I am doing internship, like other than those technical term or technical project what I have done, that will be I surely mentioning in my project, in my
Yeah.
interview,
Then,
maybe that in the Accenture evaluation part or my
hmm,
placement
hmm,
interview
hmm,
also. But other than
hmm,
that, what are the thing like
hmm,
the
hmm.
outside world is looking for me, or the placement process or the
Yeah,
team is
yeah,
looking for?
sure, sure. So, 2 3 things here in the interview. What I try to do is keep it a bit more interesting. So, anything interesting stories, any interesting experiences, the nuances, the thought process behind the decisions, which is not there in your resume, right? Don't repeat your resume. Try to understand how you can make it very interesting. So that is one aspect. Other aspect is again just I'm taking a pause here. I know we are extending the call, so if you want to do dinner and you are getting late for some time, please feel free to drop off. We'll have the recording and we'll share the recording, so you can anyway watch at it later. I don't have anything, so I can continue as long as there is any question, but don't be compelled to stay back. Thanks. So yeah, resuming back to Polami's question. Major part is to present your experiences in an interesting manner. You also have to share the technicalities, but at the same time, what you have to keep in mind is don't be too technical, especially if you're talking to, let's say, HR. Then it will be just be very boring. Try to focus more on the this aspect. But let's say you are in a technical round, then you have to talk about the technicalities. So this customization of your messaging is important. Secondly, even when you are talking about the technical, don't repeat your resume. Actually, be let it be complementary to your resume, because resume is there already in front of them. Tell them those things which are not there in resume. You can highlight the resume part in very brief, but then go deeper. Then the final thing is focus on the business impact. Focus on how this thing actually improved, and ideally, if you can connect that to the interviewing firm, then nothing like it. I did this project, this drove this impact, and I saw that your company is doing this expansion or this new initiative. Similar thing can be done there also. Maybe you actually worked on some process improvement which increase the efficiency by some X%. So you can say that similarly this process of your firm can also be improved. So this kind of connecting the dots while approach works well, I think. Yeah.
Like how was your evaluation process in your
So,
internship?
so basically, as I got a PPO from Ford, so I did not appear in the placement process.
No, like
Just to
internship placement process, like
yeah, no, I'll explain. I'll explain. But when I so internship पे तो कुछ था नहीं. Internship पे there was only one round of interview. The interviewer asked me कि give a brief intro of yourself. So I started blabbering a lot of gibberish. They are like, अरे यार brief दे दो. so, so it was fun. Then we had a good laugh. Then he asked me about some basic conceptual questions like regression assumptions and those kind of things, and thankfully I could remember them. And then you might not know something, you might not be able to answer something. Take it in a light manner, don't be very serious ये पता था भूल गया या ऐसा कोई be in a light manner, yeah, I don't know it, or so let it be light. That is one. Second thing is, as I was coming to key placements process is much easier than off campus. In campus placement process is much easier than off campus. Off campus may the complexity is much higher. There will be many more rounds. There will be very slow process. You might not hear back. So you have to, if you're applying for off campus, and I would encourage you to apply for off campus, then you have to keep following up. You have to send hundreds of applications if you're not here. So if you send key 20 30 application, I don't hear back, don't stop there. Create a process, key apply to 10 firms every day, things like that. Like create a process, keep following up, be polite, be resilient. That is one suggestion. And then other point is social media sharing could be very helpful. For example, all the jobs that I have joined till now, all of them were through LinkedIn. Although I am not able to post too much on LinkedIn nowadays. And by the way, quick point here, my LinkedIn network is almost full. So if you want to connect with me, it's better to do it in maybe Instagram or Facebook, because I'm not able to accept more LinkedIn connections now because there's a limit. Uh, okay, coming back to LinkedIn is very powerful. Similarly, Coda, GitHub, but in my experience, LinkedIn is extremely powerful. So if you are able to do some make some posts on LinkedIn, nothing like it, then you will get internal inbound messages, and inbound messages are very powerful. Then you have the negotiating power. If someone already sending you ki, are you interested in this position, then you have already cleared the initial screening stages. You are in a good position. LinkedIn, and then you can also message people, seniors, HR in the organizations. Usually people who are in a bit senior position, they would be in a position to influence the hiring decision, so that would be better. Similarly, the professors, they also have good connects in the industry, so talk to them. And especially, I think the placement process will be starting in December, so you have some time. So you can also start experimenting, go through some of the job posting, understand the requirements, go through some of the LinkedIn profiles, connect with people, connect with recruiters. So yeah, this type of small things, if you do collectively, it would be very helpful. Understand what are the industry trends going on, what are the things happening at startups, what are the things happening at MNCs, what are the different mega trends, what is the funding situation, how the macroeconomic situation is. Yeah, this type of generic suggestions would be probably useful. Any more stories on IITK? How is the campus journey going? Uh, anything interesting to share?
Like may I add on, like my
Sure.
main focus question was like, how was it in Ford, like Ford may after doing project evaluation.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I probably didn't understand that. Yeah. So I'll explain. So basically, uh, let's say you are given some project, you have done the work. Then two major aspects. One is communicating the value add. That is one. You may have done a lot of things, but you have to communicate that to not only your manager but also the senior leadership. So make sure you are giving updates. Go talk to them. Take some feedback. For example, let's say if some person is leading to their team, maybe you do some brief research on their LinkedIn. You go to them and say, "Ki, sir, I was very inspired by your profile and your journey. Please give me some advice on how to go about on my career." Or if you have some specific questions, then nothing like it. "Ki, I saw your post. I had a question on this. Please guide me on this." Maybe don't go talk to them about technical things. People like technical things, you talk to your manager and near about people, but people who are in a leadership position, they are more thinking about the strategy. So you can understand, ki, sir, how the whole business works, how it so let's say if you have seen some industry article, you can discuss that on them. If they have written some article, you can talk on them. So point is that एक तो हो गया कि अच्छे से काम करना, that is crucial. Like you have to be very efficient, very competent in your work, and don't expect someone to handhold you. So if something can be googled easily, don't ask that question to your manager. Do the googling, go that. So anything can be done, do yourself, then go to them. If you're stuck somewhere, ki I'm stuck there, this could be one solution, this could be another solution, I have already tried this is the results, now you guide me. नो कि आई हैव स्टक हियर, क्या क्या करूँ आप बता दो. So that aspect is there. Finally, I would say that presentation aspect, की final presentation when you are giving, be bit energetic, focus on some other aspect and not the technical aspects. And while in the interactions, try to communicate that you are very excited about working here. A lot of the value add that young people like you guys and us, we bring to the table is the energy. We have a lot of excitement, we want to try new things, we want to break things, we want to learn. So and also other aspect here is show them that you are aware of the industry trends, what is happening in the technological fronts. You understand how the business works.
Hmm.
So in the communications, try to subtly implant those points. Then they will know ki this is a so this person doesn't only know stats or maths or machine learning, but also have a business understanding, also have a overall technological understanding, which is a great thing. Finally, communicate that you are interested in joining back. So for example, in my case, the one of my manager, like the general manager, the person, he actually asked me ki you have a such a good CV, you'll go for you wanna why don't you go for a PhD? So then your answer should be confident कि जैसे I was sure कि I won't go for a pay. I told them कि I'm not doing an industry project, like academic project. I'm doing an industry project. I want to join back in an industry, and I love the work here, learning from a practical setup. So whatever your answer is, and same thing for PhD also. कि if you are applying for a PhD, uh, try to not only don't only apply through the website, but also contact the professors, email them, have some conversations. Okay, I saw this paper of yours, it was very interesting. I have also learned about this thing. Maybe I can do a value add in your research lab on this topic. So these kind of interactions could be very useful. And some of our professors will also have many collaborators in many universities. Go talk to them also if you want to apply for a PhD. If like if already you are in touch with some professor, then it's much easier rather than going through the generic institution mechanism. So yeah, so that's how my internship was. And uh, and yeah, matlab, there is a lot of luck factor also for getting the return offer, but you can only do your best and then hope for the best. But prepare for the worst through off
Okay.
campus. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah, most welcome. Cool. And again, please feel free to reach out anytime over email or Instagram. Share your resumes over mail. I'll try to look at them and share some feedbacks. Thanks again for joining. Anything else we can take? Uh, and I know people must be very hungry. It's almost 9:30, so thanks for staying back. Also, feel free to drop off if you have something urgent. And Ringan, please do share the recording link with everyone later.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and thanks
I'll
for
do that.
the back-end arrangement, Ringan. So I think I've been planning this for quite some time with Shagun and Neha. Shagun could not be there because of the I think she had some medical emergencies. But thanks a lot to them also and to you guys for arranging this. And it's always great to talk to IITK people. I have a lot of good nostalgia from the campus days. And as I was telling a couple of you before we started the call, nowadays I am staying at Bombay, and people, if any of you are in Bombay or planning to come to Bombay, would love to meet. Do let me know. And so now that I am in Bombay, I am more in touch with IIT Bombay juniors than you guys. So I'm sorry for that. So I'm glad that we could finally do this, right?
And I guess we will meet again. मतलब इसके बाद
Yeah,
भी we'll have
for
sessions.
sure, for sure, we will definitely meet, man. For sure. And do explore the campus. Lot very beautiful campus, lot of good uh, resources available, and yeah, awesome.
So one more thing, there was a question: how to overcome the fear of the interview.
Rejection. Okay, very interesting.
Rejection, not rejection.
Yeah, college life is the time to get through some rejections. Yeah, so no, coming to a serious topic. So fear of interview, yeah. So it's good that you guys are asking questions. This is the first step. You have to speak up. You have to practice, and practice makes you perfect. So my session would be understand that we're all human. So even if you have forgotten something, you are stressed, just smile, say ki I'm feeling a bit stressed, sorry. So that actually lightens the mood. Practical session could be you can have a bottle of water, and sometimes because December is in the winter, so sometimes you will need very good clothes. Don't catch cold. be very careful in terms of health, physical, mental health, as well as don't eat too much junk food before those period. Have a healthy diet. I think this seems obvious, but I have seen many people because of the stress, and I have also done it. So who am I to tell you? But be a bit careful on the health. You might have some fast food, like maybe some cakes and biscuits while going there, because you might have to wait for a long time before the interview. These practicalities could be helpful. Carry a printout of the resume. Interviewer might not have your resume copy, pen and paper. So these practicalities is always logistically helpful. So yeah, and again, to answer your question, its practice is the only thing. What I would recommend is try to form pairs and then just practice within yourself. Just connect with one another and then do some mock interviews among yourselves only. That would definitely be very helpful. Ideally, if you can find someone, let's say a family member or someone else, that could also work. But within yourselves could also be very useful.
Hmm. Mhm. Got it. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks a lot for joining. Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Very nice to meet you, and I hope to have more interaction in the future. Best of luck. Explore the campus. Have a great journey in ITK. Let's keep in touch. Thanks a lot. Bye. All my social media handles are Sourav SOURAVSTAT. Preferred is Instagram or Facebook.
Mhm.
Thanks again for joining. Take care. Until next time. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Over to
Saurabh.
yourself.
Thank you for the time you made for us. Thank you
Sure,
so
sure.
much.
Most welcome.
Thank
Most
you so
welcome.
much.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
কথা তোকেই বলতে হয়েছে নাকি ইয়ে বলছিল সাগর?
Okay. ना ना আমি বলেছি সব কথা আমি করেছি। I have এখানে यहाँ पर there is Mrinal
श्रुति
there.
है, रंजीत है, मृणाल है, अंजलि
तो
है।
अंजलि भी है ना, तो हाँ, तो एक्चुअली आई वाज टॉकिंग विद हिम। क्या ये है, क्या है? हाँ,
उनका पूरा ऑफलाइन बैच था।
हाँ भाई, वो ही वाज फ्रॉम Y20 Y17 ना। ए,
17 19 तक,
जाओ,
हाँ।
लेट्स स्टॉप द रिकॉर्डिंग।